All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're tackling something that's been making waves. It seems like everywhere you turn, people are talking about AI.
Yeah.
And specifically how it's going to revolutionize just about everything. But today we're zeroing in on AI and home inspections.
It's definitely a hot topic. And for good reason. We've got this incredible technology that can analyze data in the blink of an eye, find patterns that we might miss as humans,
Right.
and even generate reports. But then you've got the indispensable human element, that experienced inspector who can walk into a house and practically smell trouble.
So that's what we're going to dig into today.
Mhm.
Like, can AI really replace the expertise of a seasoned home inspector?
It's the question everyone's asking, especially if you're thinking about buying or selling a house, because a home inspection report can make or break a deal.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
like the difference between moving into your dream home or stepping into a financial nightmare.
Exactly. And that's why this whole AI thing is so fascinating and potentially game-changing.
Yeah.
So where does AI fit into all of this?
Yeah, is it a friend or foe to the home inspector?
Well, let's start with AI's strength. It can definitely streamline the report writing process. Think of it like having a super efficient assistant helping the inspector craft a comprehensive report so they can focus on the actual inspection.
That makes sense. Time is money, as they say.
Exactly.
But isn't there a risk we lose something in the process if we hand over too much control to AI? Like, a machine can't really understand the nuances of a home the way an experienced inspector can, right?
You're absolutely right, and that's where the human element becomes crucial. There are things that, at least with current technology, AI simply cannot replicate. Think about a seasoned inspector walking into a house. They're not just seeing things, they're smelling, listening, feeling.
Right, it's like that spidey sense they get
Exactly.
when something just isn't right.
That intuition is honed through years of experience. Take, for example, the smell of mustiness now that could indicate a minor ventilation issue, or point to a hidden leak that's been slowly rotting the subfloor. AI relying solely on images wouldn't catch that.
That's a great point. When I was buying my first place, the inspector pointed out a slight slope in the living room floor.
Oh, where?
I honestly hadn't even noticed it.
Wow.
But he explained it could be a sign of foundation settlement, and sure enough, further investigation revealed there were some problems.
Exactly. Or imagine a loose handrail on a deck, and AI might misinterpret it as normal wear and tear.
Right.
But a human inspector would test its stability, consider the age of the deck, and potentially connect it to a larger issue with the structural integrity of the entire structure. That kind of nuanced judgment, drawing on experience and sensory input, that's where human expertise really shines.
So it's not just about identifying a problem, it's about understanding what that problem means in the bigger picture of the house.
Absolutely. AI can be a fantastic tool for collecting and organizing information, but it's the human inspector who brings the context, the experience, and the ability to see the whole picture, not just the individual pixels. Think of it this way. AI can give you a list of ingredients, but it takes a chef to turn those ingredients into a delicious meal.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah. And that's really what sets a good home inspection report apart. It's not just a data dump. It's a product of the inspector's expertise.
Yeah, it's got to be more than just a list of bullet points.
Exactly. A well-written report. It explains the potential implications of the findings. It offers clear recommendations.
Right. And it does it all in a way that the client can actually understand.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the difference between reading a dry medical textbook
Oh, yeah.
and having a doctor sit down with you and explain your diagnosis in plain English.
That makes a lot of sense. And that ability to communicate clearly and effectively, that's another area where human inspectors really shine. They can tailor the report to the specific needs of the client, answer questions, address concerns in a way that a machine just can't. So we've talked about the importance of human senses and experience in the actual inspection process, but it sounds like those writing and communication skills of the inspector are just as crucial when it comes to delivering a truly valuable report.
Oh, absolutely. A home inspection report. It's more than just a checklist of items. It's a narrative that tells the story of the house, and it takes a skilled writer to weave together those observations, insights, and recommendations into a cohesive and compelling narrative.
So for our listeners out there, those of you who might be buying or selling a house in the near future, what should you be looking for when choosing an inspector in this age of AI?
Well, first and foremost, don't be shy about asking questions. Find out how the inspector incorporates technology into their process. Do they use AI for generating the entire report or just for specific tasks like data analysis or formatting?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's your right as a client to understand how the inspection is being conducted and what role technology is playing.
Absolutely. Transparency is key. You want an inspector who is open about their methods and can explain how they're using technology to enhance, not replace their own expertise. And don't be afraid to dig a little deeper. Ask about their experience, their training, and their approach to communicating with clients.
So it's not necessarily a red flag if an inspector is using AI, but you want to make sure they're using it responsibly and ethically and that they're still prioritizing their own expertise and judgment.
Exactly. And here's another key thing to keep in mind. Experience still matters.
Right.
Don't underestimate the value of a seasoned inspector who has seen countless houses, who has encountered a wide range of issues, and who can spot those subtle red flags that an algorithm might miss.
Makes sense. You want someone who has a deep understanding of the field, not just someone who can plug data into a program and spit out a generic report.
Precisely. You want someone who can look beyond the surface, who can connect the dots, and who can provide you with the insights and guidance you need to make informed decisions about your home.
So to recap, ask questions about technology usage, prioritize experience, and look for an inspector who can communicate effectively any other tips for navigating this new landscape of AI-assisted home inspections.
I think it's crucial to remember that technology is constantly evolving. What seems cutting edge today might be outdated tomorrow. So both inspectors and homeowners need to be adaptable and stay informed about the latest developments.
So we need to be like those home inspectors, always learning and staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and don't be afraid to embrace new technologies, but always with a healthy dose of skepticism and critical thinking.
That's great advice. It's so important to be an informed consumer, especially when it comes to something as important as a home inspection.
Absolutely. And I think this whole conversation about AI and home inspections, it actually shines a light on a much bigger issue that we're facing as a society.
Ah.
How do we integrate these incredibly powerful technologies into our lives in a way that benefits everyone?
That is a big question. It seems like AI is popping up everywhere these days.
It is.
It's moving so fast.
It is, and it's not always easy to keep up. But I think the key is to remember that technology is a tool. It's up to us to decide how we use it and to ensure that it serves us, not the other way around.
That's a really powerful message. So as we wrap up our deep dives into the world of AI and home inspections, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I'd say the most important thing is to approach AI with both enthusiasm and caution. Embrace its potential to make our lives easier and more efficient, but always be mindful of its limitations and potential risks.
That's a great point. AI can be a powerful tool, but it's not a magic bullet. It's up to us to use it wisely and ethically and to never lose sight of the value of human expertise and judgment.
Well said. And remember, when it comes to your home, there's no substitute for a thorough inspection by a qualified professional. Use AI as a resource, but trust your instincts and don't be afraid to ask questions. After all, it's your home, and you deserve to have all the information you need to make an informed decision.
That's great advice. And speaking of informed decisions, there's one final thought we want to leave you with today. It's something we haven't touched on directly in our discussion, but it's a question that's been on my mind as we've been exploring this intersection of AI and home inspections. Are you ready for it?
I'm all ears.
Here it is. If AI becomes sophisticated enough to truly replicate human senses and judgment, will the role of the home inspector fundamentally change? Will it become more about interpreting AI-generated data and less about hands-on assessment?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It really gets to the heart of how we value human expertise in a world that's increasingly driven by technology.
Exactly. It's a question that might not have a clear answer today, but it's something we all need to be thinking about as AI continues to evolve, because the future of home inspections and so many other professions might look very different than it does today.
Yeah, it really makes you think, will we get to a point where a home inspection is more about, sitting in front of a computer screen analyzing data
Right.
and less about actually getting your hands dirty crawling through attics and basements?
Will the inspector of the future need like a computer science degree more than a contractor's license?
Right. It's like a whole new type of expertise is emerging.
Yeah.
The ability to not just collect data, but to interpret it, to understand its limitations, and to actually apply it in a real-world setting.
And it's not just home inspections. This is a conversation that's happening across so many industries, from doctors to lawyers, accountants to artists. AI is changing the whole landscape of expertise.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that this isn't necessarily a bad thing. AI has the potential to free us from those tedious tasks, to help us see patterns that we might otherwise miss, and to ultimately make us better at what we do. But it's up to us to ensure that it's used responsibly and ethically, that it complements human skills rather than replacing them entirely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of AI and home inspections, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I'd say the most important message is this: stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. The world is changing rapidly, and AI is a major force behind a lot of those changes, but it's not something to fear. It's an opportunity to learn to adapt and to shape the future we want to see.
It's not about resisting change, but understanding it and harnessing it for good.
Exactly. And that means asking questions, challenging assumptions, and being open to new possibilities.
Well said, and on that note, we'll leave you to contemplate these big questions and to explore the ever-evolving world of AI. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.